Over, so I'm going to call on Dr. Cleary now on behalf of the Clare Action Group. If you keep to 5 minutes, Dr. Cleary would really help. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Dr. Martina Cleary and I am the founder of Clare Pirate Action Group. My apologies for the late and also altered opening statement. After 2 years of arduous campaigning for inclusion in this scheme and only 2 working days to prepare for it for County Clare, you may understand it was difficult to decide exactly what to say in 5 minutes. I'm an ordinary homeowner put in an extraordinary situation. On the 10th of August 2020, I stood outside my modest bungalow in County Clare and listened to an engineer explain I had suspected defective concrete blocks in my home. It could be pyrite or mica, and only core testing would tell. Yes, the problem was serious, degenerative, something that couldn't be repaired. It was a serious structural defect that would only worsen over time. And there was no assistance available to me in County Clare. It was only in 2 counties, Mayo and Donegal. It's impossible to fully explain the impact of getting this news to somebody who hasn't been on this journey. It hits you in the gut. It's a sickening, prolonged, toxic anxiety. It involves sleepless nights and lying awake wondering how long you have, how much time before your home becomes dangerous. The fear of your own home grows and becomes an almost obsessional routine of checking for evolving damage. Your life changes as you become alienated from what used to be normal reality, and the shadow of this is always present, disrupting your whole life, your family life, and your community. I will say to the eminent members of our committee here today that this problem may not yet be in your county, but it's coming. We currently know of defective concrete blocks are suspected in 12 counties along the western and eastern seaboard. It's very likely in all of them, every single county. The decisions you come to here today, the recommendations you make, will be instrumental in influencing how this crisis plays out amongst your constituents, neighbours, friends, and even family. You may already have defective concrete blocks in your homes and you don't realise it. Do not let this become another Donegal and Mayo. Once I recovered from the initial shock myself, next came the questions. How could this happen? How could the most fundamental, taken for granted, mundane thing as a humble concrete block be crumbling inside the walls of my house? A concrete block should last for 100 years. If we look at your built environment and houses standing there for decades, they're still intact. As an academic and researcher, my default mode is to investigate, to find answers, if any. Somebody had to be responsible, something had to be done, something had gone wrong somewhere. That engineer admitted that he had visited at least 40 to 50 houses with the same problem in the Clare Limerick area. However, beyond that, he would say no more, due to what he termed as a conflict of interest. This was my first, but not my last encounter of what I will describe as avoidance of the elephant in the room. I was to encounter many such moments over the coming months, and due to the scale and influence of our main supplier in County Clare, which is CRH Roadstone, I would encounter several such conflicts of interest. On the 4th of September 2020, I founded the Clare Pirate Action Group with a membership of 1. I was inspired by what I learned of the action groups in both Mayo and Donegal, and I can say that when you find yourself in this situation, you quickly realise that the ordinary homeowner has nowhere else to go. After the first month of trying to find help and advice from the local authority, the Pyrite Remediation Board, local solicitors, our local TDs, I even wrote to the Department of the Minister, I was passed from one office to the next, one dead end to another. The resounding response was there is no pyrite in County Clare and no help available. I was alone. However, within 2 months of setting up Clare Pirate Action Group, I'd been approached by 25 similarly impacted homeowners. Within 6 months that had doubled. Today, because of the research I've conducted on the ground amongst our membership, I'm aware of confirmed or suspected 1,025 private homes, 17 private housing estates, 5 local authority housing estates, 11 public and private dwellings impacted. And this is only the beginning. There is most definitely pyrite in the concrete blocks of County Clare. On the 14th of June 2022, the government finally admitted this also, and Clare was allowed access to the DCP grant scheme. It was a milestone and achievement for every single person who has worked hard to secure this admission over the past 2 years. Well, it's a moment to acknowledge this accomplishment after the arduous and extraordinary difficult process that we've been put through. We have followed carefully all of the things that are happening and the response of the people to this in Mayo and Donegal, and we are worried. This includes, I will add, we had to watch from the sidelines because we were excluded from the complete working group negotiations and input into the terms and conditions of this new scheme. Claire already met the IS 465 qualifications in July 2021 in the submission to the department. We met fully and rigorously the criteria that had already qualified 150 homes in Mayo for the scheme. I can only speculate, and forgive me if I'm wrong, that this was a strategic and deliberate delaying strategy to ensure that the interim conditions and new qualification criteria would be introduced and limit and prevent as many of us as possible from entry. I will point here to the damage threshold, which is of particular concern to us. Last night, opening the statements of the eminently qualified members of the follow-on panels this afternoon, they arrived around midnight. And as I read their biographies, I couldn't but reflect on the extraordinary situation that we're in today. We, the ordinary homeowners, are facing the full power of the Irish state and all of its resources and all of its ability to secure the most qualified and professional voices from the most established and respected bodies in the country, all working on behalf of the state to ensure their position will be unquestionable and upheld. It is impossible not to feel that we here, the homeowners, are the victims, who are the victims, are on trial. And for what? For daring to expect more, for daring to demand more, for expecting that the homes we've worked hard to pay for and continue to pay for should stay standing around us. That the oversight of regulation to ensure that the blocks used to build them would be sound and enforced. We've been let down on so many levels in this, but particularly by the state, who continues to fail in its duty to do right by its citizens, the ordinary workers and taxpayers of this country impacted by this. That's us, the people sitting here before you today. I received a text recently from an engineer who had actually been there on the very first day.
Mr. Cleary, if I could just ask you if you could finish up as soon as you can. And I
Thank
do
you.
want to hear from you, and I don't want to stymie what you have to tell us, but I just need to give everybody the time.
Okay, well, I'll cut short for the sake of brevity.
Thank you.
Of particular importance to us in County Clare are four things. The damage threshold. We feel it's been introduced to be deliberately prohibitive. We know from the core testing on the buildings that it's only at the core testing stage the science proves that even though the render looks fine, that the blocks underneath are crumbling and rotting, and I've put some examples of that, visual examples there. We're also worried about homeowner access to independent assessment and testing, because that is crucial to determine the true gravity of the situation for your home. And I can say that conflict of interest goes right across, not just from engineers, it goes to testing companies and other professionals, that we have encountered several difficulties along the way in actually ensuring we have an independence of testing regime. Remediation options for pyrite and reactive sulfate damage, and we have a sulfate attack in County Clare. The option there is demolition. That is what the experts are saying. You cannot continue to retain pyrite blocks in the buildings.
Can I just ask you to finish up there, please,
Yeah, and the
Cleary,
final
and I'm going to move on
resource
now,
and
and I'm
funding.
going to
Thank you.
invite the